Hey guys, it's time for another Mental Health Monday. Just by way of monthly reminder, Mental Health Mondays are peer support only. I do not have a degree of any kind, and especially not one in mental health services. All right, I made a couple of notes, so I'm going to be looking at those, trying to stay on track. This will be another fairly short to medium length video. The sun is changing. I don't know if you just saw that, but I'm in the second bedroom. This month's Mental Health Monday, I want to talk a little bit about something I've been struggling with this month, and not struggling with, and that's one of the things I want to touch on is wording, but not struggling with, but dealing with or trying to overcome, trying to lessen the effects of is my anxiety. And one of the things I'm having a little bit of difficulties with is being back into the workforce, especially working in a group setting or team setting. It's not my strong suit. It's definitely not one of my strengths. And it produces a lot of social anxiety and just anxieties in general with being in a leadership role within a team setting. So I'm learning to finagle that all over again. I'm used to kind of being the last several years of my work life kind of being independent on my own or working with a one-on-one situation, not so much in a team setting. Or really a leadership setting. I wasn't really a leader in my last position when working for someone else. So I'm just trying to be the kind of leader I would want. I'm also trying to figure out what my strengths are. I'm trying to be a better and a more effective communicator. I'm also trying to have an open mind to things because I'm coming in new to this organization, to this program, and in a leadership position for people who have already been basically leading in lieu of not having a leader. So now having to have them in some ways, not always, obviously, because we are a team and it has to work well. The program has to work well together. But in some ways taking the reins of some things, but also continuing to let them thrive in their strengths and other things. But ultimately, anything in the program that doesn't flow just right kind of falls on me. So I have to then be accountable and responsible for some things. So new position, just in case you didn't watch the previous video or the video on the other channel that went into a little more details, is out of school time activity center leader working with the Parks and Recs department. So it's a before and after school program basically, and it's based in the schools, but it's run by Parks and Rec. So yeah, my anxiety has definitely been rearing its ugly head a little bit this month. So I'm trying to figure out different things. And one of the things I'm also working on, along with overcoming anxiety, social anxiety, work anxiety, and leadership anxiety, is swapping out my inner and verbal vocabulary. So trying to use words, instead of using weakness, using things like areas I need to focus on or skills I need to improve on, instead of saying weakness. Because just because you're strong over here doesn't mean you're weak over here. It just means you probably haven't used those skills enough to have formed a strength in them. So I want to try and change my wording. So my self-talk and my leadership talk are more positive and not borderlining on questionable or negative or, talking down to someone type thing. Also, instead of saying I struggle with something, I want to say that I'm having a difficult time understanding this, or having a difficult time grasping this. I need to work on this a little bit more. So I don't want to say I'm struggling, because struggling seems like such a negative connotation to me. And just saying something's difficult means I want to conquer it, I want to overcome it, and I want to work on it. To me, that's what I get from those words. So I don't know if you're like me and you have these things within yourself that you need to work on or that you have difficulties with, but I just wanted to share that with you. That's kind of what I've been working on this month, mostly the last couple of weeks, just because remember, most of this month I have been out with COVID. So just this last like week or so, I've been kind of dealing with this as I am really diving into my new work position and what it all entails. And now that I know that I'm going to be at a school that has some challenging behaviors with the participants, so I'm like, okay, I've got to get myself kind of in this zone. I got to get myself ready. You know, I've been going through some scenarios. What if a kid says this? What will you do if a kid shows this kind of behavior? What would you do when you pull them to the side? You know, how are you going to handle this? How are you going to handle that? So I'm just thinking of all the scenarios I've ever faced, or all the scenarios you could face possibly with the population that I'm working with, and what could I do? What could I say? That's what I've been dealing with this month. All that to say, we all have things that we have to deal with, and unfortunately, children have the least amount of capabilities on how to handle and coping mechanisms, and a lot of times they get lost in the sauce when it comes to mental health, when it comes to dealing with feelings. And I want to be that person that kind of is there to model, mentor, and direct them into the right kind of path and how to deal with those things, if possible. You know, so I want to be learning as much as I can. I want to be working on myself as much as I can, so that I can then have the tools and the skills and the ability to model those behaviors for them and help them along this path. So if you are struggling with anything that this video has pointed out for you, go down in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. And I want you to know you're not alone in this journey, okay? We're all going through something. We all have our things that we are having a difficult time with, things that we're really strong in. And sometimes we overcome something, and then months later, we will take a step back in that area because maybe we haven't encountered anything that brought it to the forefront. And so sometimes we need just a refresher. And sometimes just talking about it with another peer or with someone you know who also has that same thing that they're dealing with makes it so much nicer. It makes it more relatable, and it makes it more open, honest, and don't hide these things. Let's get them out in the open. Let's have frank, honest conversations about them, and let's help one another, because we're all a community together. No matter where you are located, we're all a community together. This world is connected by more ways than we know. And on that note, I'll see you next time.